My dear friends, good morning. I would like to invite you all to a small talk on the Frederick Winslow Taylor, who is very famous personality in contributing the principles of scientific management. He is the author who contributed the scientific management concept. Now let us go through into the discussion. We can consider the history of the industrial scenario and management with the scientific management movement, which was very active and peak in its nature. During the period between 1850 and 1915, Mr. Frederick Winslow Taylor has contributed the principles of scientific management. He has observed very nicely and made very good contributions for the management, and the same has witnessed in the conversion of broad generalization of the matters into the practical tools of the management. He is very popularly known as the father of scientific management. Now we can see the photograph of Frederick Winslow Taylor. He is an author for the scientific management theory. If we look at the flight and the journey, we can see that F.W. Taylor has started his career as an apprentice mechanics in Philadelphia in the United States of America. With his hard work and shrewdness in his jobs, has been proved his talent and was rewarded suitably. And finally, he has been promoted to the level of a chief engineer in the Midway Engineering Works, and there he served for over a period of time and had gained very good mastery over the concepts of scientific management. Now, having got good exposure and rich experience in the fields of management, he became an expert and has contributed so many novel features which are very well known and made him the father of scientific management principles. F.W. Taylor observed that the managers who are right now working in the industry are not having very much good exposure and are not adopting the advanced scientific techniques in relation to their work conditions. He observed that the workers are not working hard, and he could diagnose the causes of low efficiency and turnover. And he also observed with seriousness that there are a lot of wastages, and also in the work culture, the inefficiency is being reflected. And due to this, there was a lot of disorder and lacking in order, and system is also not good with this methods of management. Now you can see the diagram where the interrelation between the scientific techniques of management has been displayed. Let us see, to start with this scientific management, the job is started with standardization and also simplification of work and procedures, which will be supported by the different methods which will give them good results in the working environment. Then, depending upon the efficiency and performance of the workers, he has introduced the differential fees rate system in the wage and salary administration, where he gives encouragement and he will give better package to the good worker, and the average and poor workers will be given initiative to work more with the rate system adopted for the others. At the same time, he has considered the fatigue study, where stress and exposure caused by the hard work needs to be measured in the work assessment. At the same time, for the assessment of efficiency, has introduced time study and time set for each job, and also the time of commencement and time of completion were taken into account. Similarly, has introduced the motion study for each and every activity involved in the process of management, finally leading to a functional foremanship relation in the management process. Now let us see these features one after the other. Now the concept is very novel. The job starts with scientific task setting mechanism. In this process, the scientific task setting will be done with after careful analysis and calculations, and they will be doing scientific castigation and will be arriving at the moderate levels of performance, and the same will be determined. At the same time, they had also advocated that the standard is the quantity of work which an average worker working in an ideal conditions of the environment in which he is able to do in a day. This is called a fair day's work. So this is essential and this will be helpful in the assessment of the levels of task setting where the stress levels will be depending upon the standardization and also pre-planning of the tasks. As we know, the planning is the lifeblood of any activity. Here also, the F.W. Taylor's scientific management principles have attached the serious importance and topmost priority to this aspect of planning. This has been considered with the four aspects in the work environment. One has to assess what is the work that has to be done, and the assessment is followed by the mode of doing work, how it is to be done, and the next aspect is the location where it has to be delivered, and last but one is the important aspect of time frame. So the process of task setting is covered with the four aspects of the important elements of place of work and mode of doing job and the delivery point where it has to be carried out and the time frame before which the scheduled aspects have to be covered in this planning module. Now, let us see that the first question which was dealt by the Management Engineering Department. F.W. Taylor advocated the setting up of a planning department in each and every organization. Basically, this department will receive the detailed instructions and information relating to the type, the size, shape, and other specifications with respect to the quantity of the products which are to be produced and also the deadline by which the production has to be completed. All will be going in a time-bound activity frame like work like a schedule of activities. In the planning department, four persons will work where they are defined separately for the program, instruction, and the time and cost. Finally, all this will be controlled by the disciplinarian, a superior authority to coordinate and make supervision over these guys. Now, second aspect is the work study. Now, in this scientific management, the importance that is attached to the work study is of extraordinary in nature. It is a systematic study of the each and every objective and critical examination of all the factors which are governing the operational efficiency of any specific activity. In a work study, F.W. Taylor has stressed on the method study, time study, and also the scientific rate setting in assessing the quality and performance based efficiencies of the workers. Now let us see the methods study. In this aspect, the management of an organization is required to make a study on the entire process of production. It has to consider all the aspects and should make every effort to reduce this the time and travel of the journey of the production cycle where material will pass from one end to the another in this cycle. So they have also made improvements in the material handling mechanism. Similarly, they have also introduced internal transportation through conveyors, belts, and trucks, lifts, etc. in the industrial environment. On this basis, a process chart setting out the various operations has to be prepared. The main aim of this chart is to see the workflow which is already planned, and similarly execution should also be carried out on those lines where it was mentioned in the chart. Then coming to the with help of this method study, now the management will be able to ensure that the plant is laid out and carry out the operations in the best manner, and procedures will be adopted, and it same will be equipped in the industry to get the best tools and machinery in the production mechanism. The next aspect to which the Tyler has attached importance is related to the motion study. It's a study of the movements of an operator performing the job and the operation of useless motions which are not relevant nor productive which needs to be eliminated in this motion study. So for conducting the motion studies, the workers are required to study their job chart and also note down all the movements involved therein. Then they will have to make a proper analysis, and once again the system will be reviewed, and if found the useless motions which are not at all relevant or which could be avoided will be eliminated as well. Thus, within a less time, it will be possible to deliver a better and most efficient system of the operations in the organization. This will also help in the operational research and management of the organization. The next aspect, the time. Time is the more important aspect in the life of each and every individual. It is precious than gold or platinum because the time once lost can never be regained. As such, the purpose of time study is meant to determine the normal conditions in which the time consumed or likely to be consumed for a proper performance of the operation. Now, if we look at the words of the Kimball and Kimball, time study may be defined primarily as the art of observing and recording the time required to do each detailed element of an industrial operation. Now, time study will be made when it is properly assessed and coordinated with the motion study. Now, it helps in determining the best method of doing a job and also determining the standard quantity of 1 day's work, that is standard task to be done by an average worker, will be noted down and will be adopted as a standard task, and this will be helpful in the assessment of the worker in his individual capacity. Next aspect to which the F.W. Taylor principles have advocated is relating to the scientific selection and training of the workforce. Yes, it is all the more essential that the Taylor has stressed on a systematic procedure and selection based on a proper selection methodology and training of the workforce, because this will yield the better results in the organization. Here, the workers who are selected by the management will be asked to undergo some trainings in their respective fields, and then only they will be assigned the tasks. So every job is entrusted and designed in such a manner which will be made to the best available resource in the factory. At the same time, one has to pay the serious and proper attention and devotion to the aspect of training the workers in the correct methods of doing the work. This will helping in the delivery of goods on a standard basis. Otherwise, the purpose will be defeated. Hence, this sort of scientific management requires the very good training ground for the workers before allotting them the specific task in the plant, in an organization, or a factory. Next aspect to which Taylor has attached importance is related to the standardization of the methods, where it is not only the standardization of tools of production or equipments, or also the working conditions prevailing in the organization. He also used upon the system to adopt and also store the standard tools and equipments in order to get the best production. He has advocated in his principles to the management to set an optimum level of speed for every machine so that its efficiency could be rated. At the same time, the periodical maintenance and shutdown all needs to be taken in this aspect because of the conditions like ventilation, heating, cooling, humidity, and safety, and other aspects will have their impact, which will be reflected in the level of performance of a worker. Now, the use of high quality raw materials and good methods of handling those raw materials are also to be given priority in this regard. Now, in simple, if we see this flow chart, the scientific management is very simple. It is based on the science and no rule for thumb because the traditional methods without any scientific basis cannot be accepted. Systematic and periodically train the employees on a scientific lines to deliver the better results with commitment and task accomplishment basis. The next aspect to which he has given importance is that the methods and research of development fruits which will ensure that efficient ways of working are to be adopted in the institution and also in the industry all alike. The next aspect of dividing the work between the managers and workers is highly important because a manager is a supervising authority vested in the interest of getting the job oriented results and his expertise in doing work alone is not enough and at the same time a worker cannot be a manager without the efficiency. So we need to have the clear cut distinction between both the managers and workers in this regard. At the same time, while coming to the wage and salary administration, so performance based packages and result oriented salary band must be included to encourage the best in the industry and improve the talent in the years to come. Now, the novel concept of differential price rate system, which he has introduced in the wage administration, is that the Taylor scientific management theory, he believed that financial incentives are the most appropriate in nature because the this kind of incentive will attract a man to work in a better manner. To ensure this, he will attain the efficiency and also speed up the work he was allotted, where he will be given the wage according to the differential piece rate. This will give the system where price and piece rate will be determined. One for the standard production and the lesser production will have the proportionately reduced earnings. This is called BIS standard limits, where Bureau of Indian Standards will be taken into account. It was believed that the worker will have to try to raise his efficiency and also work to that level in order to get the higher wages and higher rates, which in turn will benefit the individual in his capacity. Then comes the next aspect of functional organization. Under the traditional plant setup, usually one foreman was given the charge of a so many number of workers. But Taylor has suggested the scheme of functional foremanship. Under this scheme, the same functions cannot be done by two different people, and at the same time, two different jobs cannot be done by a single person. Take, for example, planning and execution are separate works which cannot be clubbed together. So, foreman will look after the four jobs in the planning work, and rest of the members will have to supervise the works in the machine shop and the like. So this sort of aspects were contemplated by F.W. Taylor in his functional foremanship in the organizational chart. The next aspect to which he has attached more and more importance is the mindset, where mental evolution is the keystone for the success of the organizational setup. It improves and involves the changes of attitudes on both the sides. Actually, the worker management cooperation will have to be considered as the pedestal upon which the structure of a scientific management can be built. If this structure is nice and the edifice will stay for a longer period, lest it may collapse. Now, the principle of mental evolution has also given the Tyler the feeling of asserted that he has given all the measures which are outlined in the scientific management system needs to be followed. Otherwise, it will be useless until and unless there is a complete mental evolution on the part of both the administration as well as the workforce, so that their outlook and attitude towards this will be positive and mutually helpful in improving the betterment in the standards and also advancing the developments in the institution with the cooperation of one another. Now, we see that Taylor has advised the methods of scientific investigations and also the knowledge which must be accepted by both the parties without any hesitation, and for which mental evolution will form a base. To sum up, the success of scientific management, it is primarily resting upon the fundamental change in the attitude of management of workers, both and also their duty to cooperate in producing the largest possible surplus, and as to that necessity of substituting exact scientific knowledge for the opinions of or the role of thumb of the individual knowledge. So, in this session, we have covered the discussion on the principles of scientific management and its definition in detail, contributed by Frederick Winslow Taylor. With this, we conclude this session. Thank you, one and all. నీళ్ళు పోసేసుకున్నాయి